Good evening. Now, Grand Theft Auto 3 came out long time ago, about 2 decades. God damn it, that's a long time. And as it was one of the, or if not the first really successful sandbox adventure game, which basically allowed you to just do a lot of stuff even outside the basic designated missions. It means that it definitely had some of its, you could say, own quirks, weirdness, fun stuff, strange things, and all those kind of things going on, and which also means locations being also strange going around. So I would guess that this would show, I would show 10 of these locations that I really personally like in this game. They may be fun, they may be surreal, they may be absurd, and everything else, and it does, and well, they are places that I like in this game and which have some sort of extra meaning. And these are not in any hierarchical order, so but let's just go to the first location. I try to pick at them all over the Liberty City of this era. So let's just start from the first one on the list, but not the first in hierarchy, of course, because there is no.
Number one.
And one of the locations that I want to mention about is the bitching dog food factory at the Portland. Unusual location because of the, yes, it starts a mission sequence of very repetitive missions of finding somebody down and bringing them here, so then they get murdered and chopped to pieces. Yeah, that's gruesome until the murderer himself gets reversed. But I find it is interesting because of not only is it this kind of closed compound industrial building with a funny logo and a pun in the company name. Rockstar seems to love this. It is also the fact that it is completely unrelated to the main story. It's basically just one of these loose criminal threads of violence and general insanity which permeate through the Grand Theft Auto world in general. And in this one they first showed it, and it not being completely independent and separate makes it a interesting location, both gameplay-wise and also, well, mostly in gameplay-wise. Visually, it is not that interesting, being just a basically industrial building surrounded by high fence and a logo outside telling what it is. Another interesting location Grand Theft Auto 3 has is not so much of a location, it's a mechanic. The Portland rail system that actually, when you look about it, allows Claude to travel, or maybe GTA guy allows him to travel across Portland area with this train. But after that, this train has no real function in this game because the distances in this game aren't that so short that it is not that much of a big convenience to travel with this train all over at all. So it's in a sense, gameplay-wise, this serves no function. And there is an underground train that you can use to travel between the different parts of the city, but this train is not connected to it. This is just completely separate moving train across Portland, which serves no function in gameplay whatsoever. There is no stories related to it. There's nothing telling you would have to go there. Only reasons why you'd want to do anything with this is because, well, there's a unique jump over these rails or to these rails, and you can use it as an access way to specific rooftops, which allow you then you get extra bonus goodies. So they do have a slight gameplay function, but there is no any other function of this train to have, which in my books leaves this kind of strange area of added but then just completely ignored a mechanic to the game. But of course it might have been something that the Rockstar wanted to really highlight, that this is completely new kind of game with new kinds of settings and stylings and all that. So for that purpose, the Portland train system or mass transit, whatever term you wish to use it, has a goal, but it's also one of those just there because we just wanted to add it there, even though it serves no purpose, but it looks cool, and hey, it even works, so that's a good PR. And that was another of these weird locations, although in this case it was much more of a function than location. Now, Portland being the early part of the game means that it was in a sense most accurately thought out part of the game area as well, with specific park areas and clearly residential buildings and different kind of businesses showing up, but it still has this one strange little area that you can get into by running over a roof, which then leads to this kind of elevated ground area between another roof that you can then just drive over, leading to these kind of little storage buildings out here. So which might imply that these buildings might be very large, as they would have been carved into the ground itself. And there's a mobster thing. Violent, I guess. Killing Salvatore makes it kind of unpleasant. But that little raised area is what I find to be very interesting, although in a sense also completely purposeless. North end lies the Phil's, illegal gun store and military stuff, but there's a little trick of it. Interesting little location, starting that when you would turn towards west from it, is that there is this little pedestrian street walking area, which in a sense goes very far away below the, you could say, main street level, being in this very, you could say, park-like pleasant aesthetic, which I really do like, because I feel that this is also one of those areas that maybe there was plans to have some kind of activity in this game. I think that it's a kind of good game design to make every area of the game such that there would be action going on there. But this little pedestrian path is not having a big purpose, but it's basically there just a little bit add some extra space to this area. And of course you can then just drive to this little bit more coastly area, more near the beach and water line, to really hammer home that this is this kind of little nice park area that you never have to visit in the game at all, but they just added to it, and there's just so much pedestrians in here as well. So if you are a violent maniac and want to rent some steam, you can just start driving through the crowd. Don't do it in real life. And with that, I would say that this is also one of the, you could say, unusual, because it serves no purpose, but still looks nice and feels nice location. And it's also quite big area when you look about how far it goes. So that was also one of those little nice areas.
Number 5.
Now, at the western side of the, or maybe easternmost, western side of Stone Island lies very unusual structure for this game. A church. Perhaps the only, you could say, place of worship in 3D era of Grand Theft Auto. Definitely at least the only one within the Grand Theft Auto 3. And it is kind of large. They really feels like very much of a church, and even a small graveyard. And seeing that the amount of violence and insanity in Grand Theft Auto 3 in general, once they started to really establish what kind of setting they are, it is kind of unusual to have a place of worship in this game, and I would say, or in this whole setting. So I would place that this church, whatever it is called, maybe Liberty Church, is unusual and memorable location, despite it having no function in the game whatsoever. Though it does have function in Liberty City Stories PSP prequel, which I don't think is that good game, but it's still decent game. Northern end, southern end of Staunton Island has also one very interesting location which really does not serve any purpose beyond looking good and having basically being a piece of environmental storytelling, and that piece would be the Rockstar statue, which is to say these transparent blocks statue, modernistic art statue thing at here, and that it has no purpose. There's no any other kind of little thing about it, but it looks nice, and it's also a quite handy little signature from the developer to that, yep, this is ours, because we put the logo there. And in addition to that little only piece of public art in the game, discounting all the big advertisements, is this pedestrian crossing or elevated pedestrian crossing over the road. There's no other location in the game where this kind of pedestrian crossing is. Actually, if I recall right, there really ain't pedestrian crossings at all in this game, but this is the only one which really hammers home how basically how peculiar area this southern end of Staunton Island is. So that was another interesting little place in this game. Foresight Vale is the least interesting area, or better say least convoluted and story-related area of the game, because hey, it only has one of its basically own storyline missions. So let's just move that car, let's just move the car so it doesn't beep. But despite having a, you could say little story of its own, it does have big important locations like the Liberty International Airport, if I recall was that right, and Cochrane Dam being the final location of the final showdown, and right next to it lies the Cochrane Dam power plant, which definitely, I don't know how realistic this is, knowing the setting and all that, but it is definitely very interesting to note that the developers did pay attention to what kind of structures and things would this kind of really big really big structure like a power dam, including a power, which of course is a power plant, would entail. So that the lower part has this kind of power plant is also really interesting little details. New York, at least stories based in New York, have often these cross-state residential buildings, two of them quite close to each other. And of course, GTA 3 would do the same with these buildings, which I don't think they have any official name in this game, in Wichita Gardens as well, which might be something like a famous unofficial landmark of New York. I really don't know the history, I didn't do that much of research, but I do know that such buildings do exist. And it's really interesting that this kind of, some say they were, well, I don't know, is it true, but they say that, yeah, they are case of some sort of failed residential project or whatever, and those buildings have not been torn down, and because, well, hey, they're big buildings, residential buildings in the middle of New York, so you might want to take use of it. But these two buildings, well, and also being an area where the last mission giver's gang walks around, is interesting little detail about real life architecture having influence on game design architecture. So that would be this area, and similar area would also appear in Grand Theft Auto 4. And so yeah, this kind of little real place coming into affecting game design is nice detail. Now, once somebody would arrive from the north, coming south towards Liberty City, most likely maybe from Carcer City, hard to say. There's not that kind of, you could say, concrete geography made about what kind of areas these are beyond, well, Los Santos being a facsimile of Los Angeles, Las Venturas being one of the Las Vegas of Nevada, and of course San Fierro of San Francisco, and of course Vice City being that of Miami, Florida, and of course Liberty City being that of New York, in state of New York, and maybe Carcer City in north, and Carcer City also mentioned as well. But once that little impressive piece of still quite impressive landmarks being shown about, there could be a chance to go above the Cochrane Dam, which is going to be shown, just because to show that how unpleasant it looks like over there, and water levels are down there. But the more interesting thing is that, of course, it's a geographical compression required by the medium, but then there is this large, quite large luxury Cedar Grove luxury area of houses, luxury residential area. There's very big houses around here. Of course, the late game mission or end game mission place, the Cartel Mansion. But beyond that, this area is, you could say, well, the climate is not the most, you could say, forgiving in this place, but this is the fancy residential area of the place. Big houses, big yards, swimming pools, garages, and all kind of big luxury things going on, which I find it really interesting that they've added this kind of various kinds of residential areas, and of course Cartel Mansion area being the most biggest one. So which of course would be kind of telling, seeing that general fictional presentation of them having lots of resources and preferring this kind of luxury and grandness. But those would be three areas from all the basic areas. Three interesting, strange, or fun areas all over the Liberty City, but there is one more little extra that I want to show you. There is also the interesting location of leaving the airport from the Terminal A. So assuming that you've gone all through the mess of getting to the Francis International Airport, yeah, that's the area of the name, I forgot. I remember it was Liberty City Airport. But anyways, once you arrive there, you are then right smack dab middle of Liberty City and Grand Theft Auto Americana, which is meaning to say drab, dour, advertisements overloaded, obnoxious, violent, and generally unpleasant place to go. And that would be, and that kind of, you could say, is very much of a fitting for this highly satirical setting. Oh, and I was a bit wrong. There seems to be another little piece of public artwork around here. Although that one's got a bit of, you could say, defacing because of the traffic going in its head. But it's still another artwork in this, another artwork. And of course, once you arrive, you can admire all these lovely little industrial works and these large Staunton Island skyscrapers and all that. So this is also another interesting little location. Although Shawside Vale itself, I know games are not made from beginning to the end, but Shawside Vale really does have that kind of feeling that it's at the end, we're close to the end, just cobble it together, which I find really real sad compared to the lots of interesting locations and mechanics containing Portland. But still, this is quite interesting location as well. Now, all the strange locations that this game has, I might say that, and also interesting locations, I might say that this little pair of basketball fields in the Chinatown Oh yeah, the locals have a real rowdy spots. Is, I would say, one of the, you could say, the interesting weird little location this game has. Of course your opinion may change. It has no function in the gameplay. There's no any kind of bonus things. It's quite along the route, so you will definitely be seeing here, but you will never ever come here. This is just here as a little piece of setting meant to look nice, and that's it. There's not even a silly Easter egg to highlight that, yeah, you found this kind of strange place. So I think that would be ending this little list of weird, strange, funny, surreal, or just, well, interesting locations to me at least. So, well, that was the end of it.